Hey Bobby, how you doing? You there?
Hey, hello.
How you doing, my friend?
Hey, hi.
Yeah, it's
Good
nice.
afternoon, man.
it's it's midnight
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
yeah, I've been waiting to talk to
What's
you
up?
for a very long time now, my friend.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
the first question I was gonna ask you right off the top is one, how are you doing today?
Me?
Yeah, how you doing, man?
Yeah. I'm doing my sculpture today.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, you were telling me about
So
your
yeah.
paintings. Um,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
so I know you went into a little detail over Messenger already, but how um
Yeah.
how exactly did Woods begin?
We started as a neighborhood friend. Right. We started as a folk singer before when we were teenagers. So we usually work as a folk singer during that time when we were teenagers.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. My Alfred Guevara, the bassist, the songwriter, also is my neighborhood friend. So we grew up together in a community.
Nice.
It's just from me outside, me inside. We call it inside the community and the outside community. Inside community is basically urban poor area, while the outside community are quite well off families. Like Alfred Guevara's father is a lawyer, something like that.
Ah, I see.
All right.
What year did Wood start playing?
We started around as early as 1982, I think, or 81 or 80, 1980, I think.
80?
19,
Wow.
19 yeah, 1980 we were still playing as a folk singer, but slowly we are gearing to punk rock music during that time because the folk singing and the folk singers are oversaturated during that time. So that's why
I
we were we were we changed our and studied and come up with a concept band named Woods.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was gonna
like
ask
that.
what does Wood stand for? Like
It's
WUDS.
yeah. Before it's WOODS, Woods, like wooden instrument
Yeah.
because we play acoustic, right? And then later on we just translated it into a Tagalog into Filipino word. And coincidentally, it coincide with the meaning, Scottish term, Scottish meaning means insane. So during that time, yeah, and during that time we were we love the idea to come up with the word woods means insane. It's a insane it's an insane place or insane jungle, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's that's a bit different than what I thought.
yeah.
I
It's we are not concept band. I mean, concept band it was built by the record company. Us, no, we were really childhood friends, and we grew up writing songs.
was TRC
Yeah.
Twisted Red Cross the first label you signed to?
The TRC, yes, yes, that's the first underground label.
Yeah. I've done lots of
Actually,
videos on
yeah,
them.
in Asia, I think it's in Asia. First underground uh, record label.
Yeah, I've reviewed almost all the Twisted Red Cross tapes at this point, and I will say Wood's Arms Talk took me almost 14 months to finally be able to
Yeah.
understand it. Well, the reason I
Yes,
say
yes,
that's
yes, yes.
because the majority of the Twisted Red Cross bands, I love them all, but your band is the only one that speaks mostly Tagalog. Urban Band has got no
Yes,
features
yes,
up
yes.
there,
Because it's difficult
but
to write Tagalog songs for punk rock.
yeah, and I
Very
love that
difficult to
about
write in
Woods.
Tagalog.
You pay homage to your homeland with Tagalog, and especially
Yes,
in your
yes, yes,
later
yes, of
albums.
course.
Like, I love.
Yes, 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 of course.
I'm going to mispronounce this, and I'm sorry about that. But at nakalimutan ang Dios. I love that
Yeah,
album,
nakalimutan ng Diyos.
but I
Yes,
don't.
correct. It's a forgetfulness of God.
Oh, I didn't even know what that
Politicians
meant.
here are somehow like that.
But
So so they don't serve the people because they do not know how to serve the supreme.
yeah,
That's the problem of the whole world.
you're
You
me
cannot serve if you do not know how to serve.
exactly. But
Yeah,
your music from Arms Talk, which I haven't, the only album by you I haven't heard yet is Nakapo sa Puso and Alay. As a, I think Aji is
yeah,
gonna sell me an Alay CD, and I'm waiting to get the physical CD. I mean, I
yeah,
can listen to it on
yeah. Good,
YouTube,
good.
but I want to hear the
Yeah,
physical CD. But I've heard Arms
yes.
Talk, Oplang Cajon, which I love Oplang Cajon. I love Arms Talk too, and
Me, my
then
favorite is Nakaupo sa Puso album is my most favorite.
I've been told that is a very hard album to find.
Yeah, I know. Difficult to find. Me, I do not have even my copies.
I
I
was
do not
gonna
have a
ask
copy.
you that.
Yeah,
How come you don't own a copy of your albums?
because I do not care. I do not care if I'm made that album. I just do not care.
Uh,
Just me, I'm just doing my occupational duty, and my occupational duty is to make songs, to write poetry, and to do art. That's my occupational duty, and my prescribed duty is to do good.
and I
So
totally respect that.
I'm still, yeah, I'm following such ruling in my life,
On,
and I'm serious about it.
I love your music, man. It's
Thank you
colorful,
very much.
very deep.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you very much. Maybe because I graduated as a music teacher.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. It's my I'm a Bachelor of Science in Education in Music Education,
Wow.
and I did a lot of workshop in songwriting. I was handled by the great Filipino poet here in the Philippines to how to write songs. I'm just lucky enough to have people like that here.
Yeah,
So
I
I was trained in
due to a language barrier, I can't understand all of your lyrics, but I can just feel it in your vocals, your
yeah,
deepness. I can feel
that's the
it.
character. Yes, you cannot even understand the words, but you
Yeah,
can
like
feel it.
I'll give you an example. I was driving home from Lawrence, Kansas, which is the next town over. I was listening to At Nakalamunto ng Dios, which I can't
Yes,
understand a word of that album, but I felt the emotion from your voice and the
yes, yes,
colorfulness of the instrumentals. That it was a
yeah,
relaxer.
yes, yes,
Which one of the songs on that album I liked the most, which I was driving so I wasn't really able to pinpoint it, but you've got one I think there's like a xylophone or something in it, just really starry, really stellar,
yeah, yes,
and
yes,
it's
yes,
got a really charged up vibe. Like I've heard a lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
people tell me that because your band is one of the hardest bands for me to get into, not in a bad way, just
Yes, I know.
understanding it, and
We
I've
do not actually entertain interviews. We're kind of weird artists,
well,
we do not want to get,
and I appreciate
because
you
I
doing
do
this
not
with me.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. I'm just I have few time now to entertain people while doing my art because I live here in a artist community in the Philippines. This is the first artist community.
Oh wow, nice.
I think also in Asia. So people here, we live here, we own our own lot, and we try to design it in such a way that it looks like it's a functional art house, something like that.
That's
Maybe in the
beautiful.
near future, I'll send you some pictures of my house.
I would love to see it.
I'm building my house. I'm building my house.
I would love to see it.
I'm using old wood, 1930s wood, before the war. I used some woods. There's this house being demolished, and then I bought the wood, and we use it here. So it's somehow it looks like the house is really old, but actually no. And and I got all these branches and installed it because I'm an installation artist. So So this is how I'm doing my life here.
Hey man, I respect that. I really do.
Yeah, it's just art. It's just art.
Art's beautiful. Just speaking of art, and I didn't know this until like a week ago. How did you come up with the title Arms Talk? That's an acronym?
Yeah, it was Alfred's idea, the basis. During that time, he really practiced Hare Krishna thing. So he came from the Hare Krishna movement when we got met. So yeah, somehow it's like that. It
That's
was Alfred's idea doing such, and then actually it's the one of the first Hare Krishna punk rock group in the world.
Woods's?
Because yeah, Woods, because there are Hare Krishna artists also during that time. And have you heard Shelter also? Right? Have you heard
I don't think I've heard
Shelter?
Shelter.
Is a new band somehow, but then they practice the same thing. So in during the punk rock era, there is this group from in Europe and also in America doing the same thing as we were doing, because we are not just we do not really ride on the punk rock culture or the punk rock movement. We were at the same time simultaneously in the world during that time in the early 80s. It wasn't Japan. We have our movement here before, long before Japan movement in punk rock. Also in Indonesia. So in Asia, we were the pioneers, considered pioneers in Asia, and we are serious about it. Some of our colleague who practice this kind of movement, making songs which are I mean radical and aggressive. Uh, Few of them they simply they abandon their duty in making or performing arts. So many of them, unlike Woods, we stayed. We do not care if we do not earn anything from it. We were just making art, and we know that this kind of work is will be liberating for us.
Yeah, you told
We
me
were
that
liberated.
many
Yeah.
of the labels you were assigned to exploited your music, unfortunately.
Yes, of course. Yes, we were exploited because we do not care. After recording, we just do not care. So that's why I do not even have my own copies.
Yeah, and
Just what we care is we need to write, and that is our duty. I mean that is my duty personally.
yeah, and speaking of exploited, which it's no longer on there, but yeah, that kind of distraught me to see Alai. Am I saying that right? Alai, Ali, your new album,
Alay, yes,
Alai.
alay album.
That
Yes.
distraught me to see someone from the Philippines is selling that for 150 USD on Discogs. That was like,
Yeah, I know. Yes, I know.
that's
Similar with other album. Our cassette tape first bidding price right now is 2,500 pesos.
which
Getting the tape. Yes.
which Aji's
I don't know the tape. Yeah.
Aji's doing me a good
Aji, I
favor.
think he could make copies. Could make
Yeah,
copies.
he's doing me a pretty good favor because I was like, yeah, I can't afford this CD, but I want it. He's like, no, don't worry about it. I'll help you out. I'm like, oh, cool, thank you.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's gonna
very
hook
good.
me up on that because I
Yeah.
want to. I mean, I'm gonna buy one from him to support you guys because like if I'm gonna spend money
Yeah.
on this, it's gonna go to you and not to some private seller, especially not 150
Yes,
bucks. Like
of course.
I think I remember
Too
when you guys
expensive.
released that it was 200 pesos, right?
Yes. Only.
Yes.
But because we only release few copies, so that's why.
I see.
It always happen because we only release few copies, and after that we hibernate. That's
Hibernate.
the yeah, we hibernate and make another album.
Yeah,
I did 11 albums aside from Woods.
11.
Yeah, 11 albums. It was one isip album. It
Oh
was
yeah,
my
you mentioned that in the
it's a concept.
messenger.
It's my art concept. It's a performance arts, music, visual art, and different discipline. It's called interdisciplinary. So that's the one isip album. And I did jam with foreign artists like have you heard the Neutrals from Italy? They are quite famous.
I've never
The
heard of
one
them.
who, the one who wrote the Ti Ricordi Joy, it's a popular song in Italy, and then I translated it into Tagalog. So I did jam with other artists like Paulo Proes from Brazil, a legendary guitarist from Brazil, and so on and so forth. So many. I jam with many artists. Chris Callas from Greece.
Wow.
It's really good also. But some of my albums are just it's really it's difficult to find. Me, I have my copies, but not the hard copies. I just have my
That
recorded materials from One Easy. And my friend owned some of the masters of that thing because he owned this recording studio.
yeah.
So I did 11 albums, and it's different kind of because I usually use those music in documentary films
Documentary
and
films.
yeah, I did a lot documentary films. I did a lot, and there are independent film that also won in Europe, in Cannes. I did a lot musical scoring.
You've been places, haven't you?
Yeah, but it's just difficult to. But there are some copies in YouTube. Some of my performances with the dance performance, doing solo guitar while dancers are dancing.
Wow.
I've been doing that. I've been I'm doing. I'm also teaching before the special education. Those
Aw.
people, autistic people. I created an orchestra for them a long time ago. So that's why my place here. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna make my own orchestra again, training those people who are not capable of playing music, and it's nice.
I have so much more respect for you right now than wow. I I wish
Yeah,
I could
thank
give
you
you a
very
hug,
much.
honestly. Like
Yeah.
I didn't
Just keep in touch, and we could help each other, building what we are believing, that this kind of movement, that this kind of art, this kind of music
yeah.
could really serve the masses, the people. So that's why I'm doing this kind of stuff. If I want to earn for my living, for my economic, I do paint. I paint. I am then buying my instruments and making recordings. So it means that I'm earning money for my art, not earning money from art. I'm doing this, selling paintings just to make another art. And
Hey
this is
man.
how I live. And this is how I live.
Much
Not just an
respect.
ordinary band, yeah. Not just the ordinary common band that usually play and then that's it, and then simply rock and roll. No, no,
Uh
I do not do that.
there's a question that I wanted to ask you about one of the TRC albums. Um
Yeah.
Brave New World Live for TRCO2, Teachers and Cheaters and May Peace Be With You stars that.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about your experience with that
It was
concert?
Alfred. It was Alfred song. Peace Be With You was used by Raymond Red. Raymond Red is a quite popular filmmaker here in the Philippines. So one time he used that one of our song, Peace Be With You. Then Teachers and Cheaters hit the airwaves as early as the after the punk rock era. So they were that particular song was heard on radio during that time. So it was, I think, they
Is
so in the underground scene they call it, uh, we compromise, we do commercial, but no, it's not true. It's just it's
when
still
you
a
say
protest.
radio, do you mean Helen Davis radio?
Yeah, no, not only Howlin' Dave's radio. There are there's this RJAM before. It's a first underground. Not, I mean, playing underground music. We call it underground here because during that time, only few artists making punk rock, and also only few followings in such kind of music. So basically, it's really a struggle. And then later on during the 90s, it became popularized, but not punk rock anymore. It's just many artists rides on the or rode on the on the we call this the pop being popular in a sense for this kind of music, because we started playing making music in without not like the academe thing, or the rock and roll thing, really clean. We do it really raw, just to just to just to protest. No need to make it really difficult scales and then melody lines or so on and so forth. We use this simple thing just simply to protest on that music is not just artsy fartsy thing. Music is somehow uh, will liberate us.
Yeah,
So it's a liberation from bondage of commercialism and hedonism, something like that.
that's it. I really feel that when I listen to your music, even though I don't understand what you're saying half the time. I really, that's what I said is I feel the emotion in that. Like I've
Yes, yes,
said
yes.
this to many TRC veterans like Al Malanta, Arnold Morales, and all
Yeah.
them. Your band is such
Mhm.
a standout from the TRC crowd just because,
Yeah.
like, I said it like 6 or 7 times in the review. When I listen to Woods, I get this Woodstock vibe coming from you, this artsy, this rainbowish
Yeah.
Woodstock sort of thing going on.
Yeah, maybe because of the melody line. It's more not blues, it's more European.
Well, I guess
So that's
that, but also
yeah.
like a lot of hardcore punk is just f the system,
Yes, I
this
know.
that.
Yes, yes,
Your music isn't not, it's not nihilistic, it's not demolish the
yes, yes,
state. I mean,
yes,
it's
yes, yes.
liberation, but in a very
Yes,
optimistic and
liberation.
positive light.
Yes, that's the correct term, liberation
Yeah,
from the bondage of the ill society.
I just love how Woods is able to take the liberation from the state sort of message, but in a very positive
Yes,
light.
yes.
And
That's
many
the yeah.
many punk bands don't do that.
Yeah, they usually want the pounding effects. No, no. What is happening here in the Philippines is very much different from the other countries. Our poor people here, our harassed and oppressed people here are quite different from the other countries. Here, we do not know how what kind of what kind of culture my other Filipinos are learning. So we are actually the colonial mentality of the Philippines is far hardcore. So that's why we are having a hard time making a complete and a easy narrative for our arts, because the Western kind of art or Western kind of music ate the the culture. So it's really the struggle here is really difficult, because being an artist, the struggle is not economically struggle. No, it's not economic struggle. It's not sense gratification struggle. The struggle here is how can how can your art will liberate other people from
Yeah.
such kind of bondage of, you know, this kind of society wherein people, the politician who we are hoping or to support us do not really know how to support us. So our educational system here is very, very poor. Why? Because the we're still following the Western kind of education, which is not really applicable here, because the characters, the attitude of the people is very much different
Oh
from
yeah, oh yeah.
the
I can attest to that. I lived in the Philippines for 9 months, and it's a completely different universe than here. Not just
yes,
the
yes,
United
I know.
States, but Canada, the UK, Europe. It's a much different universe.
Yeah, yeah, I know, I know.
There's a
So still, I still believe that my art, my music will survive the survive the history,
I've
because I didn't stop. I didn't stop. Unlike other artists here, they stop for economic reason. Me, no, I didn't stop. I got depressed. I got, so many things happened, and still I could manage to handle my art. I do not compromise in stupidity of the society. You know.
I was going to ask you another question on that. So, aside the Alay album, why can't I pronounce that correctly?
Nakaupo sa puso, nakaupo.
How come there was a gap between 1997 and 2019 with Woods?
Yeah, I know. Because that's the woods. That's how we do things, We 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 somehow, it seems like we are passive, but no. So it took many years to come up again. I think more than 20 years
Yeah, it's
before coming up another album. Yeah.
about 22 years.
But
Yeah.
I did a lot of albums with
Yeah,
other
you mentioned that earlier.
artists. Yeah. So not really me. I did, after many years, after 20 years, did I wrote another song. No, no. If the woods cannot function on a particular time, I still need to function, because this is my passion, and I'm not going to, to stop this kind of passion to get, um uh consumed with, just getting older and then consumed by time. No, and I'm being very active and working working a lot
I see.
until, I'm really old, and almost for a few years now I'll be a senior citizen, but I still
You're
work
still
my art.
you're still doing it though,
I
man. That's
I
what
still
counts.
write. Yeah, I still write, and I'm writing my second book. I'm in the third book.
Wow.
Yeah, this is the third book I'm writing now. Speaks about the history in the whole world, I think. Yeah, because in this particular book, I mentioned Mark Twain, I mentioned Bob Dylan, I mentioned Allen Ginsberg. You know, because my book is all about, it's a historical fiction.
Just,
The people are really existing, but the story is, it's a fiction.
so it's
So
making.
yeah, it's another story from another story,
Oh,
a history,
interesting.
like the Hiroshima bombing. I made a story about that,
Wow.
which makes the Japanese happy, not sad anymore. It's a different
Like an alternate
different
reality
attack.
almost.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, it's really, if that if this history of mine were used, then I think there will be peace in Japan concerning the Hiroshima bombing.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
even mentioned
Hiroshi.
during the time the one who the Enola Gay who dropped the bomb. It's it, it's different. It's a
Yeah,
different
that
story.
should
So
have
that's why.
never happened.
Mm,
There were so many
yes.
better ways we could have
Yeah.
avoided
Oh yes.
that.
Too. Yes, it's too.
But you know how the United States
Well,
military
it,
is.
in China, so that's why it happened to to Japan because the way that they did this genocide
The rape of
in Nanking.
Nanking? Yeah, rape of
Yeah.
Nanking.
So that's why that's the fruit of their action.
Which I was gonna ask you, and I ask all the TRC punks this: what was it like having a band like you have during the martial law times?
Yeah. Um, during the martial law time, we have bands also like the Juan de la Cruz band, but I don't think they somehow protest on something during that time. I don't think they protest. Only the type of music maybe
Like,
making rap music during that time.
like your song "Murder," for instance, it's about don't thou shall not kill. I don't
Yeah,
wanna go to war. That song.
yes, yes, yes.
What
Yeah.
specifically are you guys? I mean, I know what the concept of the song is about, but which war are you protesting in that?
It's like what we know. War is just a business. It 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 will never change the people. It's just miseries and pain. So it won't really start the advancement of humanity if we have wars. So that's why the goes like that. I don't want to go to war.
I don't wanna go to war. Yeah, it's one of my
In
favorites on
flesh,
that album because I can
in
understand it.
flesh, mind, senses. We do not want to go to war.
Your song,
You know,
y-
young thoughts. I think when we were young, then kind of.
yeah. Another question I was going to ask you is so Arms Talk and then Open Cajon. I noticed both of those albums have relatively the
Yes,
same songs but alternate
yeah,
versions.
yes. We protest in that two albums because Twisted Red Cross was being abandoned
Yeah, in
by the
'89.
by the movement So and then we tried to make another recording for that so that's why to at least we continue the fight. So that's why we tried to revive the songs, and then from then on we started to write new albums just to free the songs from the Twisted Red Cross thing.
Ah, I see.
So that Opran Kaon was formulated just to free Woods from the Twisted Red Cross thing. Because the Twisted Red Cross was somehow later in the future became um uh um they were stopped in a certain time,
Yeah,
and
they
then
they
and
Tommy
yeah,
ended it in '89, I believe.
yeah, I know. Tami Tansya ko the one who formulate the Twisted Red Cross thing.
Were you Aji and
Yeah,
Alfred
we were part
close
of
with
that.
Tommy back then?
Yeah, yes, yes, we are part of the Twisted Red Cross.
Yeah, I know you're part of it.
We had this meeting on the rooftop of on Tati's building. He's quite rich, Tommy Tanchanko. His father was a minister during that time.
Yeah, I know a little bit about
So
his
that's why
father.
he could manipulate the events and making things. So that's why that's favored the Philippine punk rock music because Tommy did a lot of a series of concert, the Brave New World concert. So that's why, of course, Tommy helped a lot in the promotion of promoting this kind of culture. But then, of course, later on, he's quite, he stopped supporting the movement. We call it the movement here,
Yeah,
and it's sad, and it's all right. At least we became really independent on our fights. So and being independent is practicing our liberation from such
exactly.
and such. Yeah.
On your 1996 album from Tone Deaf Philippines, Jera,
Yeah, Gera means war.
where,
Yeah.
what's that, is that you, Aji, and Alfred on the cover of that album?
No, Aji, he was sick during that time. So that's why we come up with another drummer. The drummer was my nephew.
Oh, really?
So he's now quite popular with with this commercial band now.
So was,
So he helped us during the time.
I see on Discogs that Gera was manufactured by Ivory Records Corporation, so was
Yes,
this a,
Ivory Record. Yes, it's a commercial. I mean, it's a mainstream record company here, Ivory Records.
so was that pretty much your first push into the mainstream with Gera?
Yes, I think so. That's the no. Also, at Nakalimutan ng Diyos, because at Nakalimutan ng Diyos was under Bicor Music Corporation. So,
Oh,
but then we do not really
yeah,
we are passive after the recording, and then we don't really care for what is going to happen to the recording. What we need to do is just play, do gigs, and
I guess the message out there.
yeah,
You have a song at the end of, I'm gonna just call it Ang Dios because I'm dyslexic. The song is
yeah.
called No Flag, No Race. It's the one
No
English
flag,
song
no
on the
race. Yes,
album.
yes. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No flag, no race, no rulers, no country.
very anarchy.
It's yeah, a very anarchy, but this is the correct anarchy because there is this narrative at the back of that particular song. The narrative is to we are not this body, and we are not going to enjoy material things because we are purely spiritual, something like that. That's the narrative of the song. But then, of course, there is these issues about the country and so on and so forth. So that's why we
Yeah,
had
it's
that kind of
I recall the line, if you love your country, pick up a gun and pick up your gun and shoot your enemy.
yes, yes, future enemy.
Yeah,
And the
that's the one
yeah,
song that I fully understood.
yeah. Yeah, it's a nice song. It's a nice.
You have another song on here that's called Silence Sa Mental Hospital.
Yeah, Silence at Mental Hospital is about society's insanity. It's society's insanity, the commercial living, and the being materialism, being hedonist in a in a way that that stops us being humans. So that's why Silence at Mental Hospital is to because it's not silent. It's a mental hospital. I mean, there's no silence in mental hospitals. People are really, you know, noisy, speaking, talking about things, and the things that they only knew. So similarly, the society is like that, speaking things,
Yeah.
insane things to insane people. So and the song wants to make it silent. Please stop,
Yeah.
something like that.
Getcha. Now,
Yeah,
I have heard a few songs off Nakapo Puso. The album is
yeah,
kind of I'd say it's not really punk rock, but it's more folkish, a little more acoustic.
yes,
I
I
haven't
know,
heard
I
the
know.
entire album, but like, what was your
Yeah.
musical influence for that? And
No,
also,
actually,
what's the on the cover art
yeah,
there?
yeah. The cover was an ancient picture, a picture from 5,000 years ago picture.
Oh wow.
So so uh, the very narrative of that album is quite Eastern. So that's why uh, from the first cut of the song, it sounds like Eastern, right? There's this tabla thing. I use tabla. I use this mirdanga. It's an Indian instrument that I use.
Yeah, I was gonna say this
So
have a very
yeah,
Indian vibe to it.
yes, yes, yes. Still, narrative is it's anti materialism because that's the problem of the Philippines. That's why we are consumed by the Western civilization. And me, I keep on explaining to friends and to other followers that in the early 1900, late 1800, the the Western civilization already declined. So that's why they come up with this kind of idea, which is impressionism. Maybe that's the character traits of the people. Not
Hollywood.
really, they're just kind. They just, but that such kindness was being exploited because, but the idea is, just being kind. But the problem is such kindness was turned into exploitation. That's the problem. Long, long before, you know, during the 1588 to 1587 revolution here with the Spaniards,
Yeah.
we had this kind of history wherein we were betrayed by other Filipino, and so that's why that revolution was not pushed through, and they were killed, they were hanged, they got head off, and my forefathers, like the warrior Pedro Balingit is part of that revolution during that time. So he was exiled. He's the first ancient Filipino in Mexico. They were
Wow.
brought there along with the five Filipinos, chieftain warriors, really rich people. We call it Maharlikas, you know. So they are the first ancient Filipinos in Mexico. My
Damn.
my my grandfather. So that's why when I wrote my book, I just simply, I just connected with that revolution a long, long, long time ago.
This is one of the most informative interviews I've ever had. I have learned so much from you in less than an hour. It's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
Like
Thank
I'm
you
I'm
very
sitting
much.
here kind of just blown away by all this information on history and
Yeah.
to be honest, I was a little nervous about this interview because I can't understand all the lyrics to Woods, but I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna talk to him anyway because he can explain it to me. He can help me understand his
Yeah.
music more.
Yeah.
There was
And
a
it's really nice that you have that kind of attitude, trying to broadcast people from a distance.
yeah, because
I mean,
I've played
understand,
Woods to a bunch of people here, and like a lot of Americans tend to like. I've played a lot of TRC bands because under my record label, I'm kind of reissuing a bunch of them here in the states, which I'm trying to push. Because Philippine, just the punk scene, not even a punk scene, but Philippine foreign music in this country doesn't really go that far because of the language barrier. But I'm trying to defeat that language barrier and just show OPM off,
yeah,
and especially your band, powerful messages that can help people.
yeah, yes.
Um,
And other artists here also, they
yes.
have their such kind, uh, they they respect our fights. You know,
I had
so
a.
that's why.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
I was gonna say I
yeah,
had
yeah.
a question for you when I asked Chikoi Pura of the Jerks list during my interview with him in
The
1980.
church, yeah.
In 1989, according to Discogs, on Dipro Records, you and Chikoi Pura had a 7-inch split. Woods, Warning, Chikoi Pura, me in the middle.
Yeah, me in the middle. It's a single. It's a vinyl. It's a
Yeah,
vinyl single recording. You know how much that kind of thing now?
uh,
If you
I don't
find
it.
one, the first bidding price is 35,000 pesos
Whew,
for that album.
damn.
I do not know why. They're selling it too expensive. I do not know
That
why.
just happens to rare records over time. Like,
And it's a nice album. It's a nice vinyl because Chicoy Pura is one of the best. I mean, one of the greatest
that's
songwriter here.
That's up there with
Yeah,
Third World Chaos, New Move for Error, their album. It's over $2,000 currently on eBay. It's
yeah.
just rare.
Yes, I know. I know.
It's insane when people actually. It's one thing to list it for that, but when you have someone actually pay $2,000 for that, I'm like, what is
Yeah, the
wrong?
problem is they're the only one earning, not us. We do not get any
Yeah,
single centavo for that.
and that's
So that's
why.
the saddest thing. That's the saddest, story in that
Which
in that particular thing.
which this next thing I'm gonna say,
So
I
it's
hope.
still exploitation, right? No?
Yeah, it's definitely exploitation. But this next thing I'm going to say, I hope I don't offend any Filipinos out there who listen to this, but it really kind of grinds my gears when I see Pinoy punks sell Woods tapes, or just not just Woods tapes, but any punk tape from over there. Like I've seen Arms Talk, Jira for 5 to 10K per piece,
Yeah,
and those
it's really
seller groups, and I'm like, ugh. I
yeah.
would much
So
rather just say,
me,
hey, Bobby, can I make a
I think
tape?
it's better to get my paintings rather than getting the
Yeah,
recordings because the paintings is just only one.
that's a.
So that's why I earn from my paintings because of that idea.
As originally I
Because
wanted,
why buying so expensive copy of a cassette
yeah,
wherein you could get the paintings that speaks 1,000 narrative.
of course.
You know, yeah.
I mean, I was gonna
For
say,
me, I see in the future that later on, the so that's why I have many paintings out here.
I hope
Actually, that saves my economic thing, my paintings, not my music.
when I arrive in the
Because
Philippines, I'd love to buy some or look at some from of what you do.
yeah, if you are going to visit me here in this area.
Most
You
definitely,
you love this place. You will definitely love this place.
most definitely, I will.
It's an artist haven. It's an artist haven.
I tend to visit out art galleries as often as I can, which the town that I live in only has two. But when I go to a different city, especially like if I'm traveling, I'll always try to find murals in different art galleries because I
Yeah.
especially love abstract art. I was gonna ask you on a just a question here, just out of my own curiosity. I mean, I didn't grow up with religion at all. What is Krishna? Like, I have absolutely no idea what that even
Yeah,
is.
Krishna it's a Sanskrit word. It means the all attractive. Became all attractive because he got all the prowess. His intelligence. It's everything, everything. So that's why the attractions all attractive. It's an ancient word. Now Krishna, and then this is this word Krista. Krista, a Greek word, right?
I
It's the
guess.
same meaning. Yeah, it's the same meaning, Krista. And then there is this Cristo, the Latin, right?
Uh huh.
Cristo, Latin. And then Christ in English.
So the
So they are connected because that's why they in Christianity, that's why Christianity, Jesus Christ, they put the word Christ to make it ancient because Krishna is ancient. million years ago, the word exists
So, do
because Sanskrit is the oldest scripture, right?
I?
Sanskrit is the oldest
Oh
scripture,
yeah, yeah,
the first
yeah.
manuscript. Yeah, and it speaks about Krishna. You know, the Bible came from the same book, the Vedas, and all books, all scriptures came from the same book, but they got this different, the different way of explaining it to other
Yeah,
people
different
according to their way.
interpretations.
Yes, yes, according to their interpretations.
Cause that's the one thing I was wondering is I know the majority of the Philippines is Catholic. So is Krishna? Do you worship Jesus Christ and Yahweh, or do you worship a different God?
Yes, yes. No, this is what happened during a long time ago in America, in New York. There is this saintly person came to America whose name is Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
That's a long
He,
name.
he yeah, he taught the Eastern philosophy, the Krishna philosophy. So from that time, he also met Allen Ginsberg. Have you heard Allen Ginsberg? Allen
I
Ginsberg is
have no idea.
really a good, is a poet writer, right? A friend of Bob Dylan.
Oh wow.
So that's why Bob Dylan got this kind of lyrics, different lyrics, and he's so it appears so really intelligent. You know why? Because he's a friend of Allen Ginsberg, and the Beatles came later on. Allen Ginsberg introduced Krishna to the Beatles
Huh.
until it reached to Sting, until it reached to Joe Strummer, until it reached to many great artists in the whole world.
Just Dharma was Krishna.
Socrates, Plato, all these, philosophers, they knew Krishna. Even Einstein, even Hitler, even those, yeah,
Damn.
they have heard something about that. But because it's really a great, it's knowledge. So people sometimes they get insane because they do not really understand it.
That's why I was asking you what it
Sting,
is, so I would
Sting,
understand
have
it.
you heard this thing, right? The police, Sting, he practiced the same thing. They were somehow connected to Bhaktivedanta, to Allen Ginsberg, to Bob Dylan, to all these, great poets, great artists. They have at least simple knowledge about Krishna. So
I just asked you the
it's just
Krishna thing
for
because I'm personally interested. I mean, I've heard of it before, but I have literally zero knowledge on what that is. And
it's philosophy. It's a highest philosophy, I think.
alrighty,
There are many kind of philosophies
yeah, I know
that
there's countless.
they turn it into yoga. You know the word yoga.
Yoga.
Yeah, yoga. What is the most popular yoga is simply a hatha yoga. Hatha yoga is just an exercise
Yeah, I know there's a couple of
to
yoga
be able
places
to
downtown.
condition yourself to learn more. But then people just stop there, stop there to the hatha yoga,
This statement's gonna
and then
be out
there's
of
this
kind of ignorance, but I honestly thought Krishna had to do with Buddhism for some reason.
yeah, Buddhism is part of the, it's
Oh,
just
really?
part, it's just part.
Huh.
Lord Buddha is just part. Sankaracharya is also just part. Muhammad is just also a part. Jesus Christ is also just a part. So we could compare it to a book like this, like the Bible is just a dictionary, not really the book.
Interesting.
Yeah. Dig deeper on Bhaktivedanta Swami.
I'll have to. I'm
Yeah.
gonna I'm gonna head to sleep after this
You could
call,
see
but
all the words
yeah.
that Bob Dylan appears there also. But in the history, right, you do not know that Bob Dylan was,
No, I had no idea.
philosophical, highly philosophical because he's a friend of Allen Ginsberg.
The-
If you see the movie, Bob Dylan holding these words like, I forgot the title of that song. It was Allen Ginsberg who's, got really long beard and mustache, almost bald guy. That's Allen Ginsberg. And you know the Ghetto Defendant, right?
Who?
The Clash. Ghetto Defendant. The song by the Clash from the
Yeah,
album
yeah, yeah,
Compatata.
yeah, yeah.
You know the one, the poetry, Dark in Metropolis, Crook in Monocropolis, Slam Dance Cross Monopolis. It was Allen Ginsberg.
Huh.
Yeah. Galing, no? Good, no?
As I said like 20
So
minutes ago, this is the most
people,
informative
yeah,
interview
people
ever.
were just learning histories, so simple histories,
Well,
not really the real thing histories.
I'm learning a lot of history right now.
Yeah. And maybe because we do not really entertain interviews, that's why we're quite
I'm
busy at this.
entertained and
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
informed, man. Like,
It's maybe really time. Uh, your time uh, come to hear this kind of
yeah, I've been waiting to
information.
talk to you for a very long time now, and I'm really honored to have this conversation about your music, your
Yeah.
belief system, the politics, Krishna.
Yeah.
I did have another question for you, which, well, I told you earlier that I personally own a record label. I own Burning Farm Records.
You have your own record label, yeah.
I was going to
So
ask you,
you're planning to, yeah.
well, I'm
What?
putting out a bunch of your, your contemporaries from back in the TRC days, like Dead Ends and Music Front, Urban Bandits. I was going to
Yeah.
ask you, would you allow me to make some, since your Woods albums are almost impossible or extremely expensive to buy, would you give me
Yeah.
permission to, either make my own copies or reissue them in the
You
U.S.?
can, yeah, I think so. With the Twisted Red Cross, you can do
Armstock?
the arm stock. I think so. You
Lovely.
can do arms. You can do arm stock.
Kind of like my final question to you that I was going to ask you earlier. I was talking to Aji about this. It's an album. I don't know if I think it's a double cassette album. It's called, and I'm gonna probably say this wrong, Karapatang Pantao.
Karapatang Pantao, human rights.
Oh, okay.
Karapatang Pantao means human
Yeah,
rights.
20 Filipino artists.
It's
You're on this.
wow. It's a good album. It's uh it only happened once. Many Filipino artists in one album. That's Karapatang Pantao
Yeah, I
album.
noticed you're on there with Chakopira, with Asin.
Mhm. That's where the Me in the Middle part of that particular album, wherein we shared with Chikoy Pura on the vinyl 45 vinyl. It came from the Karapatang Pantao album. It's a good album also.
Alrighty,
All
well,
right.
is there anything else you wanted to add
Yeah.
to this interview at all?
Yeah, it's all right. Okay. All right. I'll talk to you again next time, okay?
Yes, have a
Just
lovely
keep
day,
in
and
touch,
thank
all
you
right?
so much for this. I appreciate it.
Thank you also. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Have a lovely day.